There were many conflicts between the North and South before the Constitution was ratified. This was largely because they had very different economies. The South was completely reliant on its agriculture and had many large plantations that produced crops such as cotton, tobacco, and indigo. The labor on these farms was done by slaves, who were treated as property. They could be bought and sold and were not counted as citizens. The North, on the other hand, was mostly industrial. It was a hub of shipping, manufacturing, and trade. They relied on free labor, and so there were barely any slaves in the region. Before the Constitution was signed, both sides needed to resolve some conflicts, including the one over protective tariffs. The South had started to sell their goods to Great Britain, and since Britain's economy was similar to the North, they would trade for manufactured goods. This upset the North because Britain was gaining profit while they weren't getting much business from the South. They proposed protective tariffs, which were taxes on imports that would make English products more expensive than the similar products sold in the North. They wanted Congress to enforce these tariffs when the Constitution was ratified, but the South wasn't happy about this.
The protective tariffs should be in place. You should be purchasing goods from the North to support our economy instead of purchasing from Britain.
Preposterous. The tariffs completely favor the North. If the economy is what you want to discuss, recognize the impact that it has on the South.
If the tariffs are placed, then the English will place tariffs on our goods too. They will no longer buy cotton or tobacco from us.
But you must understand, we have just gained independence from Britain. Why are you supporting their economy by buying their goods? Leave Britain alone and purchase our goods instead.
Also, the new constitution gives our national government power to create these tariffs.
Do not forget that we haven't signed that constitution yet. It does not go into place until everybody agrees on it.
Another major conflict was over slavery. The North wanted to abolish the practice, but the South disagreed because their economy was heavily dependent on slave labor.
You can't just take slavery away from us. It's a core part of the Southern way of life.
But it's inhumane, and also it goes against the promise of the United States to give freedom to everyone.
You only say that because you have very few farms and don't even need slave labor.
I mean, they've got a point.
Hey!
So you plan on just throwing the Southern system into chaos because you suddenly agree to abolish slavery? I mean, it's ridiculous.
So, then what do you guys suggest?
What if we gradually end slavery? Our economy will take a huge hit if we end the trade so suddenly.
How about we deny Congress the ability to abolish slavery until 1808 and then we reevaluate?
But that is completely in the favor of the South. That's not fair to us at all.
To make the deal fair, what if we agree to give Congress the right to create taxes, just like the protective tariffs we were arguing about earlier?
That seems pretty fair.
Yeah.
Okay,
good idea.
we're in agreement.
And so the debate over protective tariffs was settled, and the issue of abolishing slavery was resolved, at least for now. Compromises seemed to be doing the job for these delegates. However, the South still had one topic to bring up. Should slaves be counted as population when determining how many representatives each state gets in Congress?
We need to discuss one more thing before we agree to ratify your constitution.
What's that?
Should slaves count for the population when establishing how many representatives each state sends to Congress?
That's a pretty good question.
I think we should count them.
Of course you would. It would benefit.
They should be counted. They are still people after all.
Ah, so now you want to give them rights, huh? When it finally benefits you.
Wait, what if we create another compromise?
Okay, how about we count the slaves as half a person each?
No, let's do 7/10.
Nah, let's do 3/5.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Alright.
Good day.
At last, the resolutions were reached, and both sides agreed as to what needed to be added in the Constitution. In Article 1, Section 8, Congress was given the power to impose and collect taxes and regulate trade. In Article 1, Section 9, the power to prohibit slavery was delayed until 1808, when the government would reevaluate the situation. The Three-Fifths Clause was also included. Lastly, in Article 4, the North agreed to add the Fugitive Slave Clause. which required escaped or fugitive slaves to be returned to their owners. These parts of the Constitution were all designed to satisfy the demands of the Southern states, and the Constitution was ratified shortly after.